Welcome to Brain Boogers, where we get real about mental health, life lessons, and the messy, beautiful process of moving forward. I'm MJ, your host, and someone who believes that our quirks and questions are what make us human. Each week, we dig into the stuff that matters, from attachment styles to emotional resilience, always with honesty, curiosity, and a dash of humor. Whether you're here to learn, heal, or just feel a little less alone, I'm glad you're tuning in. Before we dive deeper into neuroticism, today's topic, I want to zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture, what we've been talking about for the past few weeks, the 5 big personality traits, also known as CANOE: conscientiousness, agreeableness, neuroticism, openness, and extroversion. I like to think of these traits as members of a dream team for personal growth, each playing a unique role. Here's how I see it. Conscientiousness is the manual, the how-to of growth. It's the planner, the organizer, the one who sets the routines and keeps us accountable. Without conscientiousness, all our best intentions and insights would just float around, never becoming real change. It's the part of us that says, okay, let's make a plan and actually do this. Agreeableness is the heart, the community builder. This is our capacity for empathy, collaboration, and kindness. Agreeableness reminds us that growth isn't a solo journey. It's about relationships, support, and learning from each other. It's the voice that says, let's do this together, and let's make sure everyone feels valued along the way. Neuroticism is the threat assessor, the alarm system. This is the part of us that spots problems, anticipates challenges, and motivates us to prepare. Neuroticism brings emotional depth and a healthy dose of caution. When balanced, it helps us stay aware and resilient, pushing us to reflect, adapt, and grow stronger. Openness is the visionary, the innovator. It's our curiosity, our willingness to explore new ideas and challenge the status quo. Openness keeps us learning, adapting, and discovering what's possible. And finally, extroversion is the connector, the motivator. This is the energy source, the one who rallies the team, builds networks, and keeps the momentum going. Extroversion encourages us to engage, take action, and grow through connection. So when you think about personal growth, imagine these 5 traits working together. Conscientiousness gives us the structure and follow through. Agreeableness reminds us to care for ourselves and others. Neuroticism keeps us honest and prepared. Openness pushes us to dream and innovate. And extroversion brings the energy and connection to make it all happen. And today, as we focus on neuroticism, remember, it's not the villain of the team, it's a crucial player. When we combine its caution with the structure of conscientiousness and the warmth of agreeableness, we create a foundation for real, sustainable growth. So let's keep this team in mind as we explore how neuroticism, when understood and balanced, can actually work in our favor. If you've ever found yourself overthinking, worrying, or riding emotional ups and downs, you're not alone. Neuroticism is something we all experience to some degree. Today, we'll break it down, what it is, why it happens, and most importantly, how to work with it. We'll talk practical tools, mindset shifts, and even some unique approaches you might not have heard of before. So, let's engage in discovery, execute introspection, and grow. From the depths of overthinking comes the spark of insight, empathy, and innovation. So let's start with the basics. What is neuroticism? Neuroticism is one of the big 5 personality traits in psychology and involves our tendency to experience negative emotions, things like anxiety, mood swings, and self-doubt. But here's the thing, it's not a diagnosis, it's a spectrum. We all have it, just in different amounts. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. It's your superpower. Neuroticism is simply heightened awareness in action. Philosophically, neuroticism challenges us to look inward. Is it a flaw, or is it a sign that we're deeply engaged with the world and ourselves? I like to think of it as a signal, one that can guide us toward growth if we listen. In the last episode on agreeableness, we highlighted much on listening, and as we're seeing, it's needed as a key element of our growth. Deep feelings often lead to creation, connection, and transformation. Psychologically, neuroticism is linked to how easily we get stressed or upset, and I want to stress how long it takes us to bounce back. Genetics play a role, but so do our early experiences and environment. This calls into question how our adverse childhood experiences are shaped in our formative years, as expounded on by Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris in her book, The Deepest Well: Healing the Long-Term Effects of Childhood Adversity. Check it out, it's a great read. Understand how neuroticism actually shows up in our lives? Let's take a look at how the neuroticism spectrum is generally understood in personality psychology. Individuals expressing ultra-low neuroticism are described as tending to be emotionally stable, rarely anxious or upset, calm, resilient, and rarely stressed by setbacks. Individuals expressing low neuroticism are described as tending to be generally relaxed and even-tempered, handling stress well, and recovering quickly from disappointments. Individuals expressing moderate neuroticism are described as tending to feel anxious, sad, or irritable and manage these emotions and don't let them dominate their daily life. They may worry about important issues and can usually regain balance. Individuals expressing high neuroticism are described as tending to be more prone to frequent or intense negative emotions, anxiety, worry, sadness, and anger, and may have a lower stress threshold and take longer to recover from setbacks. They tend to be more sensitive to criticism, uncertainty, or perceived threats. Individuals expressing ultra-high neuroticism are described as tending to be very emotionally reactive and easily upset. They persistently worry, experience mood swings, or rumination. They may struggle with self-doubt, stress, or mental health challenges like anxiety or depression. The spectrum is continuous, not an either-or, where someone falls can shift a bit over time or in different situations. Both ends have strengths and challenges. Low neuroticism brings calm and stability, but can mean missing emotional cues. High neuroticism can mean greater vigilance and empathy, but more vulnerability to stress. If you're someone who worries a lot, is sensitive to criticism, or finds it tough to let go of negative thoughts, you might be higher on the neuroticism scale. And that's okay. The first step is awareness. On the flip side, low neuroticism means you're steady under pressure and don't get rattled easily, but too little can sometimes mean we miss important warning signs or don't reflect enough. The goal isn't zero neuroticism, it's balance. It's about learning from our emotions without letting them run the show. In other words, neuroticism means sensing what others overlook, feeling what they conceal, and caring enough to act. Let's talk about something that doesn't get enough airtime: the stigma around neuroticism, and how the way we think about it can shape our entire approach to mental health and personal growth. For a long time, neuroticism has been thrown around as a bad thing, a label for being too anxious, too sensitive, or too emotional. This view didn't just come out of nowhere. Some of the most influential early psychologists, Adler, Freud, and even Maslow, saw neuroticism as a maladaptive trait. In their frameworks, neuroticism was a sign that something was wrong, something to be fixed or overcome. Freud saw neuroticism as the result of unresolved unconscious conflict, a kind of psychological malfunction. Adler believed neuroticism was a response to feelings of inferiority, leading to avoidance and unrealistic goals. Maslow viewed it as a byproduct of unmet needs, something that blocked self-actualization. All of these perspectives, intentionally or not, contributed to a fixed mindset around neuroticism. The message was, if you're neurotic, you're stuck with it. It's a flaw. And that mindset spread like wildfire, fueling stigma and shame, both from within and from spectators on the outside. But here's the thing. Personality traits, including neuroticism, are malleable. They're not set in stone. And over time, other psychologists started to dig deeper and challenge this fixed view. So why do we struggle with neuroticism? Honestly, it's not our fault. Modern life moves fast, and we're not really taught how to deal with our emotions. There's stigma, there's confusion, and sometimes we just try to numb out instead of tuning in. As someone once remarked, to be neurotic is to be acutely aware of the world's beauty and pain, never indifferent, always conscious. We struggle to manage neuroticism for several reasons, most of which are pretty universal and deeply human. 1. A lack of awareness. Many people don't realize when their thoughts and behaviors are being driven by neurotic tendencies. Without self-awareness, it's hard to make changes or even recognize what needs attention. 2. Stigma around emotions. Our culture often sends the message that feeling anxious, sensitive, or emotionally reactive is bad or a sign of weakness. This can lead to shame or suppression, making it harder to address neuroticism openly and honestly. 3. Habitual patterns. Neurotic thinking, like worry, rumination, or catastrophizing, can become deeply ingrained habits. Once these patterns are set, they tend to run on autopilot unless we actively work to change them. 4. Fast-paced, stressful lives. Modern life is full of stressors and constant stimulation. We're often so busy that we don't take the time to pause, reflect, or process our emotions, which can make neurotic tendencies worse. 5. Lack of tools or support. Not everyone has learned effective coping strategies or has access to therapy and support networks. Without the right tools, managing neuroticism can feel overwhelming. And 6. Biological and environmental factors. Genetics, upbringing, and past experiences all influence how prone we are to neuroticism and how easily we can manage it. Some people are simply wired to feel things more deeply. Now, when balanced and understood, neuroticism can mean you're more vigilant, self-aware, and empathetic. It's the part of you that says, let's look out for trouble before it happens, or let's make sure everyone's okay. This is the growth mindset in action, seeing neuroticism not as a life sentence, but as a trait that can be understood, managed, and even harnessed for good. It's the difference between saying, I'm just neurotic and that's bad, versus I know my tendencies and I can use them to my advantage. So if you've ever felt boxed in by the label of neurotic, or if you've internalized that stigma, I want you to know you're not broken. You're not stuck. The more you understand yourself, the more you can turn what was once seen as a weakness into a real source of strength. So, what if we looked at it differently? What if, instead of seeing neuroticism as a flaw, we saw it as a superpower in disguise? Carl Jung, one of Freud's contemporaries, believed neurotic symptoms were messages from our unconscious mind. Instead of seeing them as just problems, he saw them as signals, clues that something in our life needs attention or change. Think of your anxiety or overthinking as your mind's way of nudging you toward growth or transformation. Karen Horney, a pioneering woman in psychoanalysis, saw neuroticism as a response to unmet emotional needs. But here's the twist. We believe that by understanding our neurotic patterns, we can actually empower ourselves. Self-analysis and self-acceptance are key. Let's try a quick exercise together. Think about a recent time when you felt anxious or worried. Ask yourself, what need was underneath that feeling? Was it a need for connection, safety, or recognition? Sometimes, just naming the need can be a huge step towards self-understanding. Rollo May, an existential psychologist, argued that anxiety is simply part of being alive, especially when we're facing big questions about meaning, freedom, and responsibility. Instead of running from anxiety, May believed we could use it as fuel for creativity, courage, and personal growth. So next time you feel anxious, try asking, what is this feeling trying to push me toward? Is there something I need to create, change, or face? Let's fast forward to today. Modern trait theorists and positive psychology researchers like Hans Eysenck have shown that neuroticism is just one end of a normal personality spectrum. And recent research suggests that, when paired with conscientiousness, neuroticism can actually be a superpower. People who worry, but are also organized and proactive, are often more prepared, more resilient, and even healthier because they anticipate problems and take action. Neuroticism can be beneficial when it acts as a motivator for self-improvement and growth. A little bit of neuroticism can make us more careful, detail-oriented, and motivated to improve. Think about artists and leaders who channel their neuroticism into creativity or innovation. It's a double-edged sword, but it can absolutely work in our favor. People with a healthy level of neuroticism tend to be more self-aware. They notice when something feels off, which can prompt them to address problems early, seek support, or make positive changes. This heightened sensitivity can also make someone more empathetic and attuned to the needs of others. Here are a few specific ways neuroticism can be an asset. Number 1, preparedness and caution. A little bit of worry helps you plan ahead, anticipate risks, and avoid careless mistakes. It keeps you alert to potential issues in your personal and professional life. Someone said, worry is the dark room where negatives develop, but it's also where creative solutions are born. 2. Attention to detail. Neurotic individuals often notice subtleties and details that others might overlook. This can be a strength in creative work, leadership, and caregiving. 3. Emotional depth. Experiencing a range of emotions can deepen your understanding of yourself and others, making you more relatable and compassionate. 4. Drive for improvement. That inner restlessness can push you to learn, grow, and seek out solutions, rather than settling for good enough. Remember, this can easily turn into perfectionism, and we don't want to develop that pesky trait. The key is balance. Too much neuroticism can feel overwhelming, but just enough can keep you sharp, engaged, and moving forward. So what impacts our neuroticism? Genetics, yes, but also trauma, our current environment, even our daily habits. The good news? It's not set in stone. The good news is that with intentional daily practices like mindfulness, self-reflection, and seeking support, we can learn to manage neuroticism much more effectively. It starts with awareness and a willingness to be gentle with ourselves as we grow. 3 ways we can manage neuroticism are: 1. Self-awareness. It all starts with self-awareness. Journaling, mood tracking, or just taking a few minutes each day to check in with yourself can make a huge difference. Understanding often begins with awareness. 2. Therapy. Therapy is another game changer. Whether it's cognitive behavioral therapy, group sessions, or talking it out with a trusted friend, getting support is key. Therapy helps us untangle our thoughts and see patterns we might miss on our own. And 3, mindfulness versus mindlessness. Mindfulness is about being present with your thoughts and feelings without judgment. Mindlessness is the opposite: numbing, distracting, or going on autopilot. Try this. Next time you're feeling anxious, pause and notice your breath. Even a minute of mindful breathing can help ground you. Now, let's dive into some unique approaches you might not have tried to manage neuroticism. Ho'oponopono is a Hawaiian practice centered on reconciliation, forgiveness, and clearing emotional burdens. Its core phrases, "I'm sorry," please forgive me, thank you, and I love you are used to release negative feelings and restore balance within ourselves and in our relationships. Here's how you can integrate Ho'oponopono into managing neuroticism. 1. Through self-compassion for your emotions. Neuroticism often comes with self-criticism, guilt, or frustration about your own sensitivity. When you notice anxiety or negative thoughts, use Ho'oponopono phrases toward yourself, such as, I'm sorry for being so hard on myself. Please forgive me for my self-judgment. Thank you for showing me where I need care. And I love you, even when you're anxious. 2. By releasing rumination and emotional loops. Neuroticism can trap you in cycles of overthinking. Ruminating means repeatedly thinking about the same thoughts, usually negative ones, over and over again. It's like your mind gets stuck on a loop, replaying worries, past mistakes, or things that upset you, without finding a solution or moving forward. For example, if you have an argument with someone and you keep replaying what was said, what you could have done differently, or worrying about what will happen next, that's rumination. It's common in people with higher neuroticism and can make stress and anxiety feel even worse. In short, ruminating is when your mind can't let go of something and you keep turning it over in your head, often without any real benefit. When you catch yourself ruminating, pause and mentally repeat the Ho'oponopono phrases. This interrupts the cycle and helps you gently let go of obsessive thoughts. 3. Through healing relationships impacted by neuroticism. If your neurotic tendencies affect your interactions, like snapping at a loved one or withdrawing, use Ho'oponopono to process those moments. Direct the phrases toward the other person, even if it's just in your mind, to release guilt and foster forgiveness. 4. Using a daily mindfulness ritual. Make Ho'oponopono a daily practice, perhaps during meditation or journaling. Reflect on where neuroticism has shown up that day, and use the phrases to bring compassion and closure to those moments. 5. By reframing neuroticism as a signal. Instead of seeing neuroticism as a flaw, use Ho'oponopono to thank your mind for alerting you to areas that need healing or attention. This shifts your mindset from self-judgment to gratitude and growth. In a nutshell, Ho'oponopono softens the self-critical edge of neuroticism, helps break negative cycles, and fosters forgiveness, both for yourself and others. It's a gentle daily way to nurture emotional resilience. Resilience is incredibly useful when it comes to neuroticism because it acts as a buffer against the emotional ups and downs that neuroticism can bring. Here's how resilience helps you in moments of high neuroticism. 1. Bounce back faster. Neuroticism often means you feel stress, worry, or negative emotions more intensely. Resilience helps you recover from setbacks or emotional distress more quickly, so those feelings don't linger or overwhelm you. 2. Adaptability. Life is unpredictable and neuroticism can make change feel extra challenging. Resilience helps you adapt, stay flexible, and keep moving forward, even when things don't go as planned. 3. Growth mindset. Resilience encourages you to see challenges as opportunities to learn and grow rather than threats. This mindset shift can reduce the impact of neurotic tendencies and help you use your sensitivity as a strength. And 4. Healthy coping. Resilient people are better at finding constructive ways to handle difficult emotions, like reaching out for help, reframing negative thoughts, or practicing self-care, instead of getting stuck in rumination or self-criticism. Here's a guided exercise blending Ho'oponopono with reframing and self-compassion to help manage neuroticism, intended to be gentle, practical, and grounding. When you can, find a comfortable, quiet space. You can sit or lie down. Take a few slow, deep breaths to settle in. Step 1. Notice and name. Bring to mind a recent situation where you felt anxious, worried, or emotionally unsettled. Notice how you're feeling right now, physically and emotionally. Name it gently, such as, I feel tense or I feel nervous. Step 2. Breathe and accept. With each inhale, imagine you're inviting in calm and understanding. With each exhale, let go of tension or judgment. Remind yourself, it's okay to feel this way. These emotions are part of being human. Step 3. Ho'oponopono phrases, self-compassion. Silently or softly repeat these phrases to yourself, focusing on your own experience. I'm sorry for the ways I've been hard on myself or ignored my feelings. Please forgive me for any self-judgment or harshness. Thank you for showing me what needs care and attention. And I love you, even when you're anxious or unsettled. Step 4. Reframe the experience by asking yourself, what is this feeling trying to tell me? Is there a strength or message here? For example, if you're worried about a project, maybe it means you care deeply or want to do your best. Try this reframe. My sensitivity is a sign that I care. My awareness helps me grow. Step 5. Release and empower. Visualize letting go of any lingering self-criticism or worry, as if you're setting down a heavy bag. Imagine yourself moving forward with a bit more lightness and self-compassion. Affirm, I can use my awareness and sensitivity as strengths. I am learning to care for myself. Step 6. Close the practice by taking a final deep breath. Thank yourself for taking this time. And gently, if your eyes are closed, open your eyes or bring your attention back to the present moment. You can use this exercise anytime you notice yourself getting stuck in worry or negative self-talk. Over time, it helps build resilience, self-acceptance, and a more compassionate relationship with your emotions. Resilience doesn't eliminate neuroticism, but it gives you the tools to manage it more effectively. It helps you ride the emotional waves instead of getting pulled under by them. Building resilience is about bouncing back from stress. Self-compassion, a strong support network, and a growth mindset all help. Remember, resilience isn't about never falling, it's about getting back up. As the Japanese saying goes, fall 7 times, get up 8. Think Donnie McClurkin's We Fall Down or Get Back Up Again from the Trolls movie. Now, let's break down how neuroticism is influenced and expressed through each of the basic pH components. This model helps us understand the different ways neuroticism can show up and be managed in our lives. 1. Belief. Your core beliefs about yourself, others, and the world can fuel neurotic tendencies. For example, if you believe, I must never make mistakes, or I can't let them see me sweat, you're more likely to experience anxiety, worry, and self-doubt. Challenging and reshaping limiting beliefs can help reduce neurotic symptoms and foster a more balanced mindset. 2. With your affects, or your emotions. Neuroticism is closely tied to heightened emotional reactivity, feeling anxiety, sadness, anger, or guilt more intensely or frequently. Developing emotional awareness and regulation skills like mindfulness or therapy can help you better manage these strong feelings. 3. Your social engagement. Your relationships and social environment can either amplify or buffer neurotic traits. For instance, criticism or lack of support can increase insecurity, while positive social connections can provide reassurance and grounding. Building supportive, understanding relationships can help you feel safer and more resilient to stress. 4. Imagination. A vivid imagination can sometimes result in thinking about worst-case scenarios, overestimating potential problems, or frequently considering hypothetical situations. The same imagination can be harnessed for creative problem-solving, visualizing positive outcomes, or engaging in calming visualization exercises. 5. Cognition, or your thoughts. Neuroticism often involves patterns of negative thinking, rumination, and self-criticism. Your thought processes can keep you stuck in cycles of anxiety or self-doubt. Cognitive techniques like reframing, challenging negative thoughts, and practicing gratitude can help shift your mindset toward balance. And 6. Physical manifestations. Neuroticism can show up physically as muscle tension, headaches, digestive issues, fatigue, or sleep problems. The body often absorbs and expresses emotional stress. Physical self-care like exercise, relaxation techniques, and healthy routines can help release tension and support emotional regulation. In summary, neuroticism isn't just in your head. It's shaped and supported by your beliefs, emotions, social world, imagination, thoughts, and even your body. By addressing each of these areas, you can better understand and manage neurotic tendencies in a holistic, empowering way. So, how do we walk confidently in our neuroticism? Well, walking confidently in our neuroticism is about embracing the parts of ourselves that might feel messy, anxious, or unconventional, and turning those traits into sources of strength, authenticity, and even connection. Here's a practical, growth-focused breakdown for you. 1. Acknowledge and normalize. With self-awareness, recognize your neurotic tendencies, be it overthinking, worrying, perfectionism, etc., without judgment. These are just parts of a human experience. Normalize it by reminding yourself that everyone has quirks and anxieties. Neuroticism is just one flavor of personality, nothing to hide or fix. 2. Reframe neuroticism as a strength. Hyper-awareness equals insight. Your tendency to notice details and anticipate problems can be a superpower in leadership, creativity, and empathy. Emotional depth is where neuroticism often comes with that high emotional intelligence and sensitivity, qualities that foster deep connections and nuanced understanding, especially valuable in your mental health work. 3. Self-compassion over self-criticism. Practice talking to yourself like you talk to a friend. Hey, it's okay to feel this way. These thoughts are just thoughts. They don't define me. When you catch yourself spiraling, pause and breathe. Acknowledge the feeling, then gently redirect. 4. Channel it creatively. Use your neurotic energy as creative fuel. Journal, podcast, create art, or brainstorm novel ideas. Share your experiences openly, as you already do. You know, people resonate with vulnerability and realness. 5. Set boundaries with your mind. Time block your worry time if you need to process anxieties, then move on to action or self-care. Practice mindfulness or meditation to bring yourself back to the present moment. 6. Own your story publicly. There's a piece of a quote by Carl Sagan. Everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you've ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. What I remind myself is that I am one person in 8 billion and growing on this mote of dust. So when I may feel uneasy about my own quirks, I remind myself that if I'm not causing physical hurt or harm or causing mental anguish, then I'll keep being me, 1 in 8 billion. Also, my sister's words often bring me comfort. Your opinion matters too. And as a friend of mine said, don't diminish your shine. Someone is using your light to find their way. And I've learned to use a dash of self-deprecation. After all, life is so serious that none of us are going to make it out alive. I use humor and humility to ease the anxiety and show others they can be themselves too. When you laugh at your own overthinking, you invite others to do the same. 7. Connect with your community. Surround yourself with people who appreciate your full self, quirks and all. My friends are such because they show me love by lifting me up. Connect with your community of quirks and view the world through other lenses. Share your own stories, as this builds a culture of acceptance and courage as we learn from each other and work toward deeper understanding. Here's a quick exercise for you when you make the time. Grab your journal, open your notes app, or just take a moment to reflect. Think of a time when your worry, sensitivity, or tendency to overthink actually protected you, helped you prepare, or pushed you to improve something in your life. Maybe your anxiety led you to double check details and avoid a major mistake. Maybe your sensitivity helped you notice when a friend needed support, or your self-doubt pushed you to learn and grow. Remember, every trait has a place on our personal growth team. Neuroticism isn't the villain, it's the wise lookout, the risk assessor, the one who keeps us prepared and honest with ourselves. So, how do we turn this theory into practice? Here are a few ways to make your neurotic tendencies work for you. Take a few minutes after this episode to jot down, when has my worry or anxiety actually protected me or led me to a positive outcome? You might be surprised at how often your so-called overthinking has saved the day. Instead of criticizing yourself for being anxious or sensitive, try to notice and appreciate those traits. What strengths do they bring? How have they helped you or others? Use your anxious energy for planning, creative projects, or advocacy. Many activists, artists, and leaders are high in neuroticism. They just channel it into action. Remember, you're not alone. Sharing your experiences can help reduce shame and build connection. If you're comfortable, talk about your worries with trusted friends and family, a therapist, or even with others in the Brain Boogerz community. To summarize, neuroticism is a common aspect of human personality. It can be a source of insight, growth, and even strength when we choose to listen, reflect, and channel it productively. So, next time you catch yourself worrying or feeling anxious, remember, you're not broken, you're human, and maybe even a little bit superhuman. Thank you for tuning into Brain Boogerz, where we dig deep into mental health, life lessons, and moving forward together. Remember, neuroticism isn't a flaw, it's a sign that you care, that you're paying attention, and that you're growing. Neuroticism is normal, manageable, and can even be a strength. With a little self-awareness and the right tools, you can turn sensitivity into strength. Neuroticism is the mind's way of reminding us to pay attention, to care deeply, and to keep growing. I challenge you this week. Try one new tool, maybe mindful breathing, journaling, or even Ho'oponopono. Notice how it feels and let me know what comes up for you. If you found value in today's episode, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss the latest insights. Share this episode with someone who could use a little inspiration. Your experiences help us all move forward together. Next week, we'll be exploring openness, the fourth of 5 personality traits, and what that looks like for you. Until then, keep growing, keep questioning, and most of all, keep being you. Take care, and I'll see you next time where we'll pick and dig in on Brain Boogerz.